Now we're going to take a minute and look at the thesis statement. For many of you, hopefully this is a bit of a review from high school or a previous course you've taken, but understanding what a thesis statement is, as well as what a thesis statement is not, is really vital to being able to write a quality academic essay. So I'll start with what is a thesis statement and how do I know if I have one? Well, basically, a thesis statement is one or two sentences that establishes the main point of the essay. It is usually an opinionated statement, something you believe that others may or may not agree with. And the reason I say usually is because that is what the case as far as the essay you're going to write in this class. For an academic argumentative essay, it needs to have an opinion. If you're writing just a basic factual style research paper, it may not be an opinion statement in that sense, but for your all general purposes for you, it needs to have an opinion of some kind. And really that's it. There's really nothing more to a thesis than that. It's one or two sentences that is the main point of the essay, and it has to have an opinion of some kind. A few things that a thesis statement is not. A thesis is not a question. So an example would be, what should the NCAA do about the college football playoff system? Now, while this question might be a good starting point for a research, as far as a research question is concerned, it is not technically a thesis statement in itself. You have to tell the answer to that. Another thing a thesis is not is it's not the first sentence of the introduction. You normally have some lead-in, some maybe statistical information, a quote, something that kind of leads into your intro. Typically, it's found at the end of the introduction. Most of the time in our style of paper, it's going to be located at the very end of the introduction. One thing that this does is helps create a smooth transition into the body of the paper. So once you have your intro and you've introduced some of the information, you have your thesis, then you can move easily into the body of the paragraph. So here's a few examples. Well, no, first we'll say this. Do I have a thesis? If you don't know, most likely you don't. Can you see one sentence that expresses what you want the reader to believe when finished reading the essay? Can you see one sentence that puts forth the single main idea of the essay? So if someone looks at you and says, what's your essay about? Are you able to find a sentence or two that really explains what the essay is about? If you can, then that's most likely your thesis sentence. Okay, so here's a few examples. Is this a thesis? Division I college football teams currently play in a variety of postseason bowl games. Okay, so is that a statement? Yes. Does it have an opinion? No. So therefore, in this case, it's not a thesis, okay? We don't have an opinion. A national postseason playoff system for college football teams would be the best option to determine the #1 football team in the country. Is it a statement? Yes. Is it opinionated? Yes. So it would work as a thesis statement. Couple other examples. The subject of this theme is my experience with a pet boa constrictor. This is an announcement, not a thesis, okay? This is just telling you what you're doing. I'm going to discuss boa constrictors as pets. Again, it's a statement, not a thesis. A better example would be, boa constrictors do not make healthy indoor pets. So in that case, you're writing an opinion that is explained. You want to make sure you have one idea. High school athletes shouldn't have to maintain a certain grade point average to participate in school sports, and the value of sports is often worth the lower academic average. Okay, so those are two totally different directions that your essay could go. They would both be good essays, but it's two ideas. So a better one would be, high school athletes shouldn't have to maintain a certain grade point average to participate in school sports. So again there, it's a statement, and it's opinionated, and it's one idea. Another thing your thesis should do is it should have something worthwhile to say. So child abuse is a terrible problem in our country. Of course it is. Everyone agrees with that. You're not really saying anything worthwhile. A better thesis would be, child abuse laws are too lenient in this state for repeat offenders. Okay, so that gives you a little bit more direction to your thesis, but also something a little bit more worthwhile to say or debatable also. Okay, you want to be specific, and we're going to talk a little bit more about this later on in the semester, but narrowing your topic down is really important. You guys, with the research that I gave you, the research questions I gave you, you have a more narrow start to your topic, but when you're doing papers in the future, you want to make sure that you're not too broad. My opinion is that the federal government should devote more money to solar energy research. A better thesis would be the federal government should devote more money to solar energy research. Okay, you don't want to say the my opinion part. Oh. Sorry about that. Your thesis should have a third person style as far as how it reads and how you approach it. And so in general, thesis statements I think are very intimidating to some students, and it makes you nervous to even think about them, but they're pretty basic as far as what they need to be. You need to have a statement, it needs to have an opinion, it needs to be specific in what you're going to talk about. And once again, as far as the outline, if you do a good outline, you should be able to build your thesis statement from that. It should come fairly natural from that. Please let me know if you have questions about thesis statements. You could email me, or we can talk about it in class.